She wrenched my mailbox from the ground with the glee of a gardener yanking weeds, her pearl-clutched smile gleaming like she'd just won a petty war. But as the metal post snapped and crashed, her triumphant hiss, "Community standards demand it," echoed through the quiet suburb, oblivious to the unmarked SUVs creeping up behind her like karma on wheels. What she didn't know was that her little power trip was about to turn federal, and I, the rebel homeowner she'd smeared as a neighborhood menace, had been waiting patiently for her mask to slip. Let me take you back to how this all started, before the pry bar and the handcuffs, before the whispers turned to gasps. I didn't roll into this sleepy American suburb looking for trouble. Hell, I came here to escape it. After years in a cutthroat corporate job that chewed me up and spit me out. Endless meetings, backstabbing bosses, and a divorce that left me questioning if peace even existed. I inherited my late aunt's old house on the edge of Willow Creek Estates. It was a modest ranch-style place, built in the 70s, with a yard that backed onto untamed woods. The deed was clear as day. This property predated the HOA by a solid 30 years, grandfathered in like an old-timer who refuses to retire. No mandatory dues, no color-coded fence rules, no nosy committees dictating how high your grass could grow. It was my sanctuary, a place to rebuild with quiet mornings sipping black coffee on the porch, watching squirrels chase each other like they owned the world. But in suburbs like this, where picket fences hide pressure cookers of conformity, quiet is often mistaken for weakness. And weakness? That's blood in the water for sharks like Patricia "Patty" Hargrove, the HOA president who ruled with an iron clipboard and a saccharine smile that could curdle milk. Patty wasn't your average busybody. She was a caricature of suburban entitlement, the kind who'd lecture you on community harmony while plotting your downfall in the neighborhood Facebook group. Picture her. Mid-50s, perfectly coiffed bob haircut, always in khaki capris and a polo shirt emblazoned with the HOA logo, like she was captaining a sinking ship of beige houses. She spoke in platitudes about upholding property values and fostering unity, but underneath it was all about control. She'd fine people for parking an extra inch over the curb or planting tulips instead of approved marigolds, all while her own yard featured a gaudy fountain that violated half the rules she enforced. The neighbors called her the enforcer behind her back, but to her face, they nodded and smiled, terrified of becoming her next target. Me, I kept to myself. Fixed up the house with my own hands, repainted the shutters a deep forest green, the color my aunt loved, and installed a sturdy mailbox at the end of the driveway. It wasn't flashy, just a simple black box on a wooden post, functional and unassuming. But apparently, in Patty's world, unassuming was code for affront to aesthetic uniformity. The first sign of trouble slithered into my life like a snake in the grass. I came home from a grocery run one afternoon, arms loaded with bags, and spotted a neon pink notice taped to my front door. It screamed in bold caps, "Violation notice. Non-compliant mailbox. Style does not conform to HOA Section 4.2. Replace within 7 days or face escalating fines." I peeled it off, chuckling inwardly at the absurdity. Escalate what? I wasn't even in their club. But as I scanned the fine print, something about obstructing curb appeal and mandatory review, a whisper of irritation crept in. This wasn't just a mix-up. It was an invasion. That night, over a microwave dinner, I pulled out the deed from my aunt's old filing cabinet. Yep, black and white. Exempt from HOA jurisdiction since the land was platted before their charter. I could have fired off an email right then, but nah. Silence can be a weapon too. Let them think I was cowed. Meanwhile, the rumors started bubbling. I overheard snippets at the local coffee shop. That new guy's mailbox is an eyesore. He's probably one of those antisocial types. Patty was good at that, sowing seeds of doubt to rally her minions. Little did she know I was documenting every seed. Days turned into a week, and the escalation began with all the subtlety of a bad sitcom. Another notice arrived, this time shoved into my mailbox. Not mailed, mind you, but hand-delivered like a passive-aggressive love letter. Second warning. Failure to comply with aesthetic guidelines. Fine, $25. Immediate action required to maintain community standards. I smirked, folding it neatly into my growing folder labeled HOA Nonsense. But then the whispers got louder. My next-door neighbor, a timid retiree named Ed, shuffled over one evening while I was watering the garden. He glanced around like a spy in a Cold War flick before muttering, "Patty's been asking about you at the meetings. Says your mailbox is bringing down property values." Folks are nodding along. Don't want to rock the boat. I raised an eyebrow. "Ed, you know I'm not under the HOA, right?" He shrugged, eyes darting. "Doesn't matter to her. She says exemptions are just excuses for laziness." There it was, the smear campaign kicking off. Patty wasn't content with paper threats. She needed to paint me as the villain, the outsider disrupting her perfect little fiefdom. I thanked Ed and went inside, but inside, my mind was sharpening like a blade. Patience, I told myself. Let her dig her own grave. The real fun, and by fun I mean the kind that makes you laugh through gritted teeth, started when Patty decided to play inspector. One sunny Saturday, I was in the garage tinkering with an old lawnmower when I heard voices outside. Peeking through the window, I saw her and two board members, a weaselly accountant type named Barry and a perpetually frowning housewife called Linda, strutting up my driveway like they owned the deed. Clipboards in hand, phones out, snapping photos of my mailbox from every angle. "See? It's not even powder-coated," Patty sniffed, her voice carrying like a bad PA system. "This is what happens when people think rules don't apply." Barry nodded vigorously. "Total eyesore. We'll have to cite for visual obstruction too." I stepped out, arms crossed, keeping my tone even. "Morning, folks. Something I can help with?" Patty spun, her smile as fake as a politician's promise. "Oh, just conducting a routine compliance check. Your mailbox is in clear violation. Non-approved design, potential hazard." I chuckled lightly. "Hazard? It's been there 20 years. And as I've mentioned, this property's exempt." Her eyes narrowed, that brittle sweetness cracking. "Exemptions don't excuse sloppiness. We're all in this together for the greater good." Barry chimed in, "Yeah, think of the resale values." I held up a hand. "Appreciate the concern, but you're on private property. Time to leave." Linda gasped like I'd slapped her. Patty huffed, "We'll see about that." And they marched off, whispering furiously. That night, the Facebook group exploded with posts. "Concerned about that rundown mailbox on Elm Street? It's time we enforce unity." Tagged subtly with my address. The bashing began. Anonymous cowards calling me lazy, unneighborly, even a threat to our safe community. I screenshotted it all, sipping my coffee, feeling the irony burn like cheap whiskey. How united could they be when their leader was turning neighbors into spies? As the days dragged on, Patty's tactics escalated from annoying to outright ridiculous, each one a masterclass in suburban satire. First came the fine invoices, slipped under my door at odd hours, like Santa delivering coal. $50 for ongoing non-compliance. Pay via HOA app or face liens. Liens? On exempt property. I almost framed one for the absurdity. Then the drive-bys started. Patty's minivan cruising slowly past my house multiple times a day, her passengers gawking like tourists at a zoo. One evening, I caught them measuring my grass with a ruler. Yes, a literal ruler, muttering about overgrowth violations. I waved cheerfully from the porch. "Need a tape measure? Mine's longer." Patty's face flushed beet red. "This isn't a joke. Standards must be upheld." But the real gem was the community petition she circulated, knocking on doors with her entourage, preaching about how my rebellious mailbox was eroding moral fabric. Ed confided later. She cornered me, said if I didn't sign, my yard lights might get scrutinized next. Classic mob boss vibes, wrapped in PDA politeness. The rumors amped up too. Whispers I was hiding something, probably not paying taxes, turning me into the neighborhood bogeyman. It stung. Sure, but I stayed silent, installing hidden cameras around the property. Let them rant. Evidence was my ally. Inside, I contacted the county quietly, laying groundwork with deeds and records. Patty thought she was winning. her ego inflating like a balloon animal at a kid's party. But balloons pop and hers was about to go boom. The pressure cooker finally hissed over one crisp autumn morning when Patty's desperation turned physical and hilariously unhinged. I'd ignored her latest ultimatum letter, a rambling screed about civic duty and consequences for defiance. So she showed up unannounced, pry bar in hand, flanked by Barry and Linda filming like amateur paparazzi. "This ends today," she declared to her mini-audience, voice quivering with faux righteousness. "For the community's sake." She jammed the bar under the mailbox post, grunting as she heaved. Metal screeched, screws popped like champagne corks. Neighbors peeked from windows, some horrified, others smirking. I stepped out, phone recording, voice steady. "Patty, that's vandalism." She laughed maniacally, yanking harder. "It's enforcement. You don't get special treatment." The box toppled with a thud, her face beaming triumph. "See? Order restored." Barry clapped awkwardly. "Great job, press." I held up my deed copy, silent as stone. That's when the SUVs arrived, county enforcement and a postal inspector, badges flashing under the sun. Patty's grin froze. "What's this?" she stammered. The officer approached calmly. "Ma'am, you've just destroyed federal property. Multiple reports of harassment too." Her clipboard trembled. "But I'm protecting standards." The inspector deadpanned. "Standards don't trump law." As cuffs clicked, her pleas turned comical. "This is for unity. He's the disruptor." Neighbors erupted in murmurs, phones capturing every squirm. Barry and Linda slunk away like rats. In that moment, watching her empire crumble, I felt a dark chuckle bubble up. Justice served with a side of schadenfreude. With Patty hauled off in the squad car, wailing about misunderstandings, the neighborhood exhaled like it had been holding its breath for years. The board dissolved overnight. Barry resigned via email, citing personal reasons, while Linda posted a tearful apology on the group, blaming groupthink. Fines evaporated, petitions shredded. Neighbors trickled over, sheepish at first. Ed brought beer, admitting, "We were cowards. She had us all scared." A young mom confessed, "I hated her rules but played along. Thanks for breaking the spell." I nodded, no grudges. Fear's a hell of a drug. The air cleared. Yards bloomed with unapproved flowers. Kids played freely without noise violation threats. I rebuilt the mailbox deliberately, carving a subtle middle finger into the wood. Nah, just kidding, but a free bird emblem felt fitting. The mail carrier saluted it next day. "Solid stand, buddy." Peace returned, earned through patience, not punches. But looking back, Patty's downfall wasn't just about a box. It was a takedown of fake authority, the kind that bullies hide behind while preaching morality. Control freaks like her thrive until someone shines a light on their absurdity. So, tell me, in a world where community standards often mask power grabs, was Patty the real villain, or just a symptom of a system that lets petty tyrants run wild?